Zerg, and then down to the bottom right, we have EG Jaedong, aka barcode line. All right. So, how are you guys all doing? You doing good? You enjoying the games? I know I am. A lot, actually. The games have been great. I love casting the Korean qualifiers for Cologne. The only downside is the fact that you normally need to get up at like 6 AM if you want to do all the morning stuff and then come into the office and, you know, get everything prepared. But it's so worth it. So worth it. Because the level of games that you get to cast, it's basically like championship level games, like every series. So a lot of fun to be here casting these. All right, so Frost is our first map. Surprise, surprise. Frost is the first map in every single one of these map pools that people are electing to go for. And it's going to be hatchery first for the pair of them. Now, when it comes to Curious's previous chances, in terms of when it comes to Curious's previous chances, when it comes in terms of how he's played in Intel Extreme Masters in the past, what we've seen from him is he does phenomenally in qualifiers, obliterates all the Terrans, obliterates all the Protosses, and then just advances on. But one of his main roads through the Intel Extreme Masters was cut short by Zerg versus Zerg. We saw that, unfortunately for him, he did fall to life during the Intel Extreme Masters New York, during like a semi-final or something like that. And that's been really it for Curious. I haven't really seen too much of his ZvZ. Meanwhile, we have Jaedong on the other end of the spectrum, who built an entire legend on ZvZ for a long time, albeit most of during Brood War. To the point where it was dubbed JVZ, but now here in Heart of the Swarm in StarCraft 2, he's actually still pretty good at it still. Some of the core fundamentals of, you know, decision making and things like that do still apply, and Jaedong just transitions very, very nicely. So we'll see if Curious can stand toe to toe with Jaedong. As for now, both players know where they've spawned because of overlords crossing one another down to the bottom left. They know it's cross positions, despite not spotting one another. And also all the overlords spotted the other two corners anyway. So for now, we're going to see what Curious has got up his sleeves. As Jaedong with his little frilled Zerglings looks to move out, whilst unfortunately for Curious, he doesn't have the little frill. Not sure why. But anyway, I guess he just opts not to use it. Curious is actually going to throw down a Spine Crawler, feeling a little bit more apprehensive about his position in this game. Jaedong is getting speed, and he's also grabbing himself extra gas. So we could see some Jaedong aggression. Meanwhile, Curious, he's getting the Spine Crawler basically because he didn't have any gases taken to begin with. He was playing very, very mineral focused, and you have to be careful about getting hit by something super aggressive from that point onwards. Now, interestingly enough, he can actually get this, unless he believes that there's going to be more Lings than just these two, and actually pulls on back, anticipating that maybe there was more Ling production than just those initial two. So this Overlord could have been killed, but Curious decides not to. Meanwhile, back at home for Jaedong, he's grabbing himself that double evolution chamber, and he's even grabbing himself a quick, sneaky third base, something which will be spotted instantaneously by Curious. So the fundamental difference here between the two is that, unfortunately for Curious, it's very difficult for him to even punish that third base at the timing that his opponent's taken it. He didn't have gases earlier on. He doesn't have any speed anywhere near production. It's going to finish up in like 100 seconds at the same time which the hatchery basically does. So technically he could time out his flurry of aggression to arrive just as speed's about to finish, but I mean, it's by the by. You know, Jaedong would always have the creep connecting those bases. He would have the queens in position to defend as well. Maybe even transfuses on the hatchery if he saves up a little bit of energy from them. And he's going to have +1/1 already well underway. And in Curious's position, who is looking to probably go for the Roach incorporation into this, that has been spotted with double evolution chambers, then this, against the 1-1 here, he's not going to have any melee, and he's not going to have carapace in time for when the 1-1 is done here for Jaedong. So Curious has to be very, very careful about this move out. Of course, this big swell of Zerglings is what we were alluding to earlier, but it just gets completely shut down. I mean, if I was anticipating something like that after what both players had seen here in ZvZ, so was Jaedong. Jaedong was well on point with dealing with that. And now his third hatchery is well and truly underway in comparison to Curious's, who is having a little bit of a harder time catching up. Now, the one good thing for Curious here is that if by chance... Hold the phone. If by chance... he's able to get into a good, like, condensed pocket of positioning here with his roaches, then they're not going to really die off to 1-1 lings with a good surround. Oh, sorry, with the roaches balled up properly. However, these lings are going to continue to try and press the issue. 1-1 is now finished. Jaedong's going to transition into roaches with +1 himself. So this is the one big key point here that Curious can try and play on. The fact that his ranged weapons will be much, much quicker than Jaedong's. So, cleans up a few of those lings. Again, 1-1 for melee and carapace makes a big difference against 0-0 on those lings. And unit counts is 54 workers to 57, actually in favor of Curious. But his income has been lacking behind a little bit because his third base has not been up and running, so he does have to take that into account. So things are going to like normalize out a little bit here, especially if we see a delay on the +2 weapons taken by Curious. If this +1 weapons is allowed to catch up a little bit, then we will certainly see the catch-up here from Jaedong. And also he still has quite a few lings on the field. The lings for lings, traded so nicely for Jaedong that he still has the majority of his alive, and that's always going to be a big threat to Curious, to the point where it's very difficult for them to ever move out across the map. Those lings are always going to threaten on the top position here, and then try and go for the run-by if they see anything move out. Because this Overseer, it's keeping a keen eye on what is going on in this particular area. So that's what those lings are going to do. And, well, there was a slight delay on this +2 weapons upgrade. So Curious is giving Jaedong the opportunity to get back in if he starts his +2 right as this finishes. Those upgrades will work out quite nicely for him. Meanwhile, it's 31 roaches to about 31 roaches, so very, very close in that regard. Just added on another 2 there. And actually, Tunneling Claws comes out for Curious. So Curious is probably going to try and go for some multitude of aggression in terms of sending a few roaches here and there to bases, unburrowing them in mineral lines, and trying to kill off some drones. Thankfully for these roaches, they are a little bit more quick underground, but also we have Burrow coming out for Jaedong. So very, very, very similar styles here, whilst we have the Infestation Pit also going down for Curious, just to keep him going. Keep him transitioning on against an opponent that's probably making a very, very similar style as well, which he doesn't fully know yet. But now, he sees this with the Overlord. It's very soon the time of the lings to move in. He's having a little bit of a look around. And if those roaches move any further down south, the lings shall attack. But meanwhile, there's plenty of roaches here for Jaedong. 56 roaches against 49. And he did see it stray onto creep for just a second there. The lings are going to go, but the roaches are already coming back. So Curious is reading this well, but he's still very much far out of position. The lings separate up in all sorts of directions here to try and get something done, and actually burrow during all of this. A smart move, realizing that they would end up dying off as well. Oh, he barely doesn't get that queen. He should get that. Curious knows that these have burrowed. Meanwhile, movement of roaches in the middle. Now, Jaedong, if he'd looked at those roaches properly, he will have noticed that they do have tunneling claws. These Zerglings could just turn around and kill off that queen. But they're just on hold position here, trying to deny some drones from getting some mining. Get the queen, get the queen, get the queen. This Ling, go get the queen. Go. But aside from that, we now have Jaedong adding on his own infestation pit as well. Pathogen Glands is on the way for Curious, but the big engagement does occur. And, well, kind of difficult to tell who's going to win out on this one. The +2 armor is finished already for Curious in comparison to Jaedong's. But Jaedong does have the better concave for just a little bit there. A few of these roaches are dancing around at the back, and Curious has been forced to fall back. Jaedong did a very, very clever thing there of moving back beyond this particular choke. And now does end up Burrowing's going to heal himself up a little bit. With no presence of an Overseer there, this is a very, very clever move. It also allows his roaches reinforcing to get into the fight. And all of his roaches are firing now, and they also healed up quite a lot. Unit counts, 51 roaches to 46, but Infestors have now popped for Curious. Not the best of fungals, but he's going to look for some more. You want some more, mate? And, well, he's going to have to just chill out for now. So he realizes, Jaedong realizes that he can't really compete too easily with his opponent's pathogen glands and infestors. So he'll sit around back at home for now and get his going as well. Whilst we have also Jaedong being able to spot this base up to the north. So he knows that his fourth base is going to pay for itself quite quickly. And, ooh, sneaky, sneaky. But also sneaky, sneaky. I don't think those actually saw one another. But this is going to be good because Jaedong, Curious is going to draw his opponent away. Now the thing is, though, is that if Jaedong sees that Roach army and sees that it's not that big, it's not that big. Where are your other Roaches? Look at this. So instantly turns on around. Although that being said, he did have vision of it of the Overlords. Meanwhile, we have the Roaches cancelling the fourth base up to the north. Very good move here by Jaedong. Landing the fungals just to seal these Roaches in, making sure that they will die. And we start another fourth base up here. Meanwhile, Roaches trying to do some damage and getting a few workers. 9 have already died. There's still that one Ling. I don't think he's going to do too much, but there is still that one Ling. The Roaches back here, not doing too badly. Hey, still another Ling there. How did he get there? But 12 workers gone down so far. Alright, so it's 54 to 57. It's just Roach, 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 and Infestors. And, well, not much is going on right now, to be honest with you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I don't think, unless he's going to get both upgrades at the same time, there are builds, the ZVP builds, that you do get upgrades at the same time. Is he going to get upgrades at the same time? If so, this is cool. I mean, he's got a bit of a bank. He's got a fourth base over his opponent. There is mining gas compared to this. So he could, in theory, make this work. Yeah, 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 Jaedong. Sick. Okay, so that's cool. That's cool. I like the advantages that he's trying to take from here. Because, I mean, his economy is always stronger right now. He's even killed off a lot of drones at his opponent's bases as well. So why not do this? Why not get those upgrades flourishing? It's not the most massive of investments, and it does speed up your composition quite a lot. And I don't mean just literally with the Hydralisks being sped up. I mean, you know, it certainly makes it more potent. All right, well, there's Roaches down to this bottom left. Well set up spine crawlers here for Jaedong to be able to push those away. And we're about to have muscular augments finish for both of these players. But, as mentioned before, Curious did already get his range as well. So that was that tactic that we saw from that double Hydralisk play, Hydralisk Dem play, in the end only just kind of catches up with the position that Curious was in. But again, he could afford it. Ooh, Curious. I actually didn't notice that he got a Hive morphed in. So this is something that Jaedong wasn't quite expecting this quickly. Of course, he does have his Hive going down behind this. But that 3-3 has a lot of momentum over what we're seeing from Jaedong right now. So this 3-3 could be a deal breaker here for Jaedong if Curious is able to take an engagement at the proper time. Also, both players grabbing themselves a Spire. I think they normally go into the Brood Lords from this point on, in terms of Roaches and Hydras, and then Infestors and blah blah blah, and Brood Lords. So if we get to a Brood Lord versus Brood Lord army, I'm a sad panda because it gets a bit strange. I recall the GSL finals that we were watching when we were at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, and it was on at the same time. And that first game between Sulky and I can't remember. Sulky and Symbol, maybe? Anyway, whatever. Whatever the case, some nice Fungals actually hit a big clump of Hydralisks up to the top right-hand corner. That's going to negate a lot of the damage from Curious very, very quickly, even popping some of those during all of that. Meanwhile, the Roaches still holding on a little bit strong, but Curious's Hydras will be able to power on through. He had a great concave during all of that. He grabbed some of the Infestors on the retreat out as well. Oh, and a lovely little fungal growth to catch the remaining of them. All right, so another base goes up for Curious, up to the north. His fourth base is well and truly underway, but as is Jaedong's, it has been for quite a while, and he's going to grab himself his own fifth base. Curious now swinging around to the right-hand side. We have that Greater Spire morphing in for Curious. He's one step ahead at every given time. But this is a really nice concave here for Jaedong if he can trade off a lot of his opponent's units. This could be the window that he needs. If he kills off a lot here, then it's going to make this 3-3 window a little less strong for Curious, because he just won't have any army to actually make it work. But at the same time, it's kind of just going blow for blow. So Curious still does all right with this. And he's got Roaches harassing over on this right-hand side. Army supplies 120 to 110. And now 3-3 is completed. This is Curious's opportunity to really seize this game by the balls if he actually wants to push across. 3-3, of course, on the way for Jaedong, but he's going to have to resort to sitting around with his Roaches and Hydras and chilling for a little bit. Also, the Greater Spire finishing up. Whilst Curious is putting all of this pressure, he's going to secure that base up to the top right. Arguably, he wants those gas geysers so that he can get those Broodlord numbers flowing. He's got 7 more Corruptors to bring out the power. Jaedong has to be careful about this army positioning. If he gets sandwiched in between these Roaches and some other units, he could be in a bit of a bad spot. Of course, he does have these, excuse me, he does have these Overlords actually spotting that, though. And the 3-3 is quickly looming here for Jaedong as well. But as I said, he could get sandwiched. He has to be careful, has to retreat out of here. Those Hydralisks aren't as fast as those Roaches as they try and chase everything down. Curious knows he's in a good spot. He sees the 3-3 against the 2-2. He's going to go for the engagement. So is Jaedong. That could be a fatal mistake for Jaedong, as all of these Roaches are going to be able to trade significantly better over Jaedong's. And now Broodlords are morphing in the sky above him. Jaedong is against the ropes. Despite his 3-3 finishing up, these Roaches chase him all the way back to those reinforcements. And Jaedong does not have his Greater Spire morphed in. Oh, and he loses so many of these units on the right-hand side that are forced to fight. Otherwise, he would lose one of these essential mining bases. Meanwhile, a base did end up going down to some Roaches over here. And the Roaches on this left-hand side are putting on the pressure. But this is getting very, very close. Curious doing pretty well with the Roaches at the front. 3-3 now finished up for Jaedong. But now the Air Armada looms as they move into attack formation and really start to seize all of Jaedong's land on his side of the map. The Roach is trying to make something happen over at the fourth base, but realistically, what can he do when all of his reinforcements are cut off by the Roaches? The Broodlords start to rain down terror from the skies, and Curious really did seize this game by the balls, I gotta say. This is going to be difficult for Jaedong to recover against. Of course, he's actually killing off quite a bit of a worker count, but the Roaches can just separate themselves absolutely everywhere. Jaedong has very, very little in terms of production right now. And I'm pretty sure he lost his Roach Warren, so can't make any more Roaches. It's just going to be Hydralisks from there on out for Jaedong. Or even Corruptors to try and bring these Broodlords down, which is actually isn't too bad an idea. But Curious realizes that he lost a lot of his Hydra numbers and has to replenish those to be able to try and keep those Broodlords alive. 9 transfuses here by Jaedong to keep, by Curious to keep as many of them alive as possible. But as I say, with this base now under siege and the Roaches going to town on the other locations, Jaedong's hopes are all but fizzled out here in game number 1. As you can see, doing all right for himself. Doing all right. Well, Jaedong's trying to hold on. But again, it's more fantasy-esque GG timing, as all his hatcheries are going to end up dying. And he doesn't have a single clue about this base up the top right. He could just finish that off and reveal everything, but it doesn't matter. Either way, the Crotas are trying to look for Broodlords desperately. And I think actually they found them, but this is just a little bit too scared of the Fungals as well as a few Hydras that do chill out there. I think Jaedong thinks this game is a little bit closer than it actually is. Was curious with that base up to the top right is doing not too badly for himself. And, well, with these Corruptors fungled, that means all hopes of him killing off these Broodlords are all but shattered. Not doing too bad with the Roaches. Drones even fighting here for Jaedong. And trying to get what they can done. But very soon, once he sends like a Roach to every single base, where is he going? Okay, he's just rallying around and searching for this. As soon as he finds this, then it shall be done here for Jaedong. The drones valiantly trying to kill off buildings where they can. But surely, he has to realize also that once this hive dies and he's not being revealed, then, ooh, these infest